What's going on, Facebook world and YouTube?
Tuesday!
It is Tuesday. She's acting like a retard behind me. I apologize. Anyway, we're going to give this a few seconds here. I am waiting for John to join the feed here. He is trying to log on now. He runs a very busy pro shop as we do here, so he's trying to wrap things up and be able to join us here on the program. So looks like he's coming in now. I'm going to bring him in. John, we're already on the stream and live, so we're bringing you in. So if you
my God. Hey, Carrie.
You can hear me.
I can.
So it sounds good on our end, too.
What's up, Brandon?
Anyway, we figured we'd go live while you were kind of jumping on, and I don't know if you got my message, but
I figured it out, I think. We'll see.
Yeah, it's under focus and then do not disturb. So
right, that's what I did.
Go on.
I even scheduled it just to make sure. Like, I didn't even know if that was going to work. Just put it on do not disturb. So I scheduled it.
Do not disturb on the door outside of your shop as well, because that's
I'm locked in.
Yeah, they'll be knocking soon. They'll be knocking.
Okay.
You know how that works.
No problem.
But yeah, basically everybody that's kind of tuning in here, looks like people are jumping into the feed now. We're about 30, 35 people in here. We will make sure we do our best as we're talking through here to monitor the chat room that's coming through. I see a bunch of people saying what's up. Just let us know you guys can hear us okay. Sounds good on our end here. John, I got you loud and clear.
Yep, you as well.
We'll go to there. So let's see. Somebody give me a thumbs up here. Jack, Terry, it looks like Vinny is on. Jonathan, you guys hear us okay out there? Give us a thumbs up, and then we'll kind of get into our feed here for the night and talk a little bit about a pretty exciting new bowling ball we got going on here. So we got a good one from Bill there. You can hear the sound here. So why don't we kind of get started here? So, first and foremost, we took last week off with the World Series going on. I wanted to have John on last week, but he might have been bowling. So it was actually a good reason to kind of wait a week and have him join here on the program. But we're back and doing Talk About It Tuesdays. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to invite one of the most radical guys I know, good friend of mine, John Furey. So, John, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jeff.
Glad
to be here.
There in Howell, New Jersey.
Things are doing good. The sun's going down later. The people are bowling. Everything is good.
Good. So I thought, we had a bunch of new releases, and obviously this one is coming out on Friday. And the first thing that really caught me why I wanted to have John on the program, not just because he's on Radical National staff, but John, you just got done bowling the World Series of Bowling, and you made a finals basically on the shark pattern, and pretty sure what ball might have been used during that block to get you there.
I think it was this one right here. Wait, the Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, obviously. Is it actually the one right beside you too? Is that a Bigfoot beside you, or is that
that's the one?
That's the actual one.
That's the actual one, guys. That was used in the qualifying.
Right. And is this? Did you drill that right before you went to the World Series, or did you get a chance to kind of throw it a little bit before you went out?
I drilled it. Let's see. I left on Saturday, and I drilled it the day before I left. And I was going to take 6 balls on the plane, and that bumped one of the balls out of the bag. And I did try it maybe for 15, 20 minutes before I put it in the bag, but that's all I needed to see. So,
wow, it's amazing. So, going over before we'll start to talk with John a little bit. So a little overview of the ball. Obviously, the Bigfoot from the Radical brand. Cover stock on this ball is going to be the TP1 Plus. The RG on this is 2.468 with a differential of 0.53. So we have a slightly lower RG symmetrical ball with a higher differential. So first and foremost, some thoughts. I know, when they publish balls and they come out and stuff, a lot of people said from the get-go, think of this like a big brother to the Squatch, which was a really popular ball for the Radical brand. So, I mean, John, I haven't had a chance to throw this one, but obviously you have. So, I mean, what was your first impression when you heard that?
I mean, the original Squatch, I really liked a lot. That was probably my favorite. Well, I mean, I did win a regional with the solid one, but I did like that original one though. But for me, this ball, it just seemed had a little more teeth. Like the cover was a little bit stronger, but it didn't lack for continuation. So, maybe just a little bit earlier if I was going to compare the two. Right. But definitely super duper continuation, more than I expected. So that's why I got in the bag.
And I think maybe
Wisconsin.
some of that might have to do with the fact that, I mean, it's hard because the cameras and stuff, and now it's split. But I have one in front of me here, and when you look at this one up close in person, the one John has beside him, when you look closely at it, it has flakes in it. So it has the mica flakes, as you can see there. So a lot of times when you see those mica flakes, and John will tell you the same thing, it's a characteristic for balls that tend to be a little bit earlier, right? So we have the Damn Good Verge had some flakes in it. The most recently here we have the Power Torque's got them in, right?
A little bit. Yep.
Power Torque has them in there. Quite a few bowling balls have the mica flakes in them. Blue Black Brunswick, right? The new one on that. And all these characteristics, when you compare them to previous releases or something that was around that realm, when you start to see the flakes that are in the ball, when you're in your pro shops, whether you're seeing John, myself, or wherever you're at, you're going to see that these characteristics of these balls tend to have a little more teeth or a little more traction a little earlier. So the unique thing about it is that when you hear, a symmetrical ball and you think, I've heard it compared to like jabs and stuff like that, you think, big down lane, kind of quick bowling balls. But John, when he made his run in the World Series, you threw it on what pattern, John?
Well, I threw it for the PTQ because I had to bowl that. That was on Earl Anthony. So that was 43 feet, and I used it at the end. And actually, I had to get kind of slow. As I got further left, I got slower and kind of, fed it to the break point, and it came off of it. I didn't have to throw it very hard. And then I used it again. The next time I used it was Shark. I used it a little bit on Shark, the first block and at the end of the second block.
And this year's Shark is 43?
48.
48 for this year. Wow. It shows how much I really looked at it this year. So 48. And I think where I'm kind of going at with this is, and for the individuals that are watching, is I think there's a misconception a lot of times about the types of bowling balls that we select to throw on different pattern lengths. So when we hear 45 feet, 46, 48 feet, I think the general population thinks that they should be throwing what? We see it happen all the time. They're throwing 500 grit bowling balls, 360, the big asymmetrical monsters. And it's just not the case. I mean, the bowling ball,
sometimes it is, but
depending on the volume, and really is what comes down to is the difference of when we're making ball selections. So, John, bowling out on tour, both the regional and the national level, when you see that type of pattern, what made you migrate to this bowling ball instead of, let's say, a bigger asymmetrical piece or not using quite as much surface?
Yeah. So, I mean, I had the luxury or the privilege, let's say, to put the pattern down here at home. In between, so I went to Wisconsin, qualified, and came home for a few days, worked the shop, practiced a little bit, and then went back. So I had bowled on it out there first, and then put it out here at Howell. And man, they were so much tighter here at Howell than they were in Wauwatosa.
Yes, I think everything is actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, it felt like 48 feet here, where out there, it probably felt closer to maybe 45. So I mean, it wasn't the first ball out of my bag. I definitely went with the stronger ASIMs, and in match play, I went with the an Incognito Pearl with some surface on it.
Right.
But towards the end of the block, I mean, the front of the lane gets beat up a little bit. There starts to be this, this area of friction in the middle of the lane, feels like in the middle of the pattern that you have to kind of navigate. And so you don't want a real big ball to just hit that and bounce off of it, or then you have to throw it past it and then it never recovers. Right. So you kind of want to stay in that zone. So in order to stay in that zone, you need to use, a little bit smoother, a little bit cleaner ball, which is a little bit more
predictable of emotion. When you get in trouble into those zones and when you're kind of getting into there. And I guess another way to look at this is if you watch the show, and unfortunately the gentleman that you ended up losing to, Chapman, made a run to almost win the title, right?
I mean, I told him, I said, go all the way. I mean,
and that's what you want to see. Look, if you got to win, you want the guy that beat you to make the favorite, be the favorite to win it all. And when you look at, for instance, Chapman's choices at 48 feet, I mean, on the show, he threw a Web Pearl, right?
Yep. That's what he threw with, against me as well.
He threw it against you. And again, I think, just kind of to reiterate what John's talking about is, when you're bowling on any of these patterns, folks, and you're making ball selections and choices, you really need to be listening to what your bowling ball is trying to tell you, right? So if you're on a big asymmetrical ball and it has that bigger motor And as you move left, it's making you open your angles up further. And now all of a sudden you get it feeding a little too far right. And what happens? The ball's not going to respond, or it's going to hook early. Okay. So as the front of the lane is getting chewed up, what John's saying is, he's essentially going into a smoother, more predictable motion where he can kind of keep the angle in front of him and not see the early friction or the early hook, and then still have enough to retain the bowling ball to get through the front part of the lane and actually go through the pins. Does it work that way every single time? Absolutely not. Right. This game is a guessing game, but I think it's important for the viewers at home to understand what they're seeing when they're throwing bowling balls down the lane.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things is to build that skill up and learn.
Yeah, and it's different. So, talking through, the World Series and talking through what you did out there versus what you saw at home. I mean, obviously, John, the national tour is almost impossible to replicate back home, isn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, especially qualifying. Match play when you're bowling one other guy in a pair, you can kind of have a better idea of how the pair is going to break down and how to manage that. But qualifying, everybody's throwing balls everywhere, and you got to be ready for anything. And it all happens so fast. Things happen at a much faster pace out there. The rev rates are higher, the speeds are higher, the volumes are higher. Everything happens faster. It's when it's your turn, you got to go.
Yep.
You got to be ready. So
you have to be ready. And I think your ball choices probably on tour maybe aren't the same as what you see at, let's say the regional level or a local tournament, right? I mean, I think your progressions, your progressions change. So we get questions all the time, whether, John, I'm sure gets them in his shop and I get him is, do the touring players essentially have different bowling balls for tour versus what they have back home? And, some of the individuals may say, nah, it's the same bag, it's the same stuff, but bowling at the level that John bowls at on the national tour, I'm sure John has a bunch of bowling balls that are in his bag when you go out on tour, maybe even more so pin to pap differences to kind of get your bowling balls to flare a little different for the environment out there.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty true sentiment for you, John. I mean,
I was definitely more conscious of, using some stronger pins, whereas, at home or, more locally, there's a little bit more friction kind of built in. The lanes aren't run 30 times during the week with the same pattern or with different patterns but more volume. So definitely, I mean, if anything, even if it's the same balls, the surfaces are different. I'm not using 500 nearly as much near home as I am out there 500 no problem, 1,000 with a heavy hand no problem. The ball gets to the front.
Right. And I mean, you get it to that point, and I put one up on the screen here which will kind of reiterate why, right? And we see this all the time. Like Brandon's actually sitting here with me, so it's kind of funny that he put this in the post here. So, he put up there, and this is a really good one. When we talk about bowling balls and we talk about conditions and your choices on tour versus back home, you have to come into the fact to know the difference between like a Brunswick machine and a Kegel machine, right?
Absolutely.
And you have reverse oil technology versus one that does not. It changes the way that the pattern is applied to the lane, and it changes our ball choices. It changes the surface preparations of the balls that we're using because the bowling ball slows down at different rates. And it's a huge difference between a Brunswick and a Kegel machine. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying one is superior over the other. It's just a different environment.
It's just different.
And I'll use another example, as for this, like, let's say this past weekend, we bowled on a pattern that was a conversion, right? And if you would have bowled on it on a flex machine that can use two different types of oils, which it called for, and the technology that has versus, a Phoenix S or something that doesn't have two chambers, it drastically changes the pattern again, right? So your ball choices or John's surface prep or something that he had on his Bigfoot may have changed. And he said it very well at the beginning. Hal, what's your surface at Hal, John?
Oh, it's Pro Anvilene.
Pro Anvilene. And what were you bowling on out at the World Series?
I don't know if it was an AMF surface. It definitely wasn't the Brunswick surface, though.
Right. So
I don't know if it was HPL or SPL, but it was old. So it was probably HPL. It was probably old surface.
So, I mean, HPL versus SPL, I mean, obviously SPLs are going to hook a little more, but depending on the age, that could change. But when you bowl on Anvilene versus an SPL surface, John said it was a lot tighter at his home house. Why is that, John?
Why is that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the surface of the lane is harder for one.
It's harder.
And plus Howell lanes, it always plays a little bit tighter when we put, some longer patterns out than normal.
Yeah, it just, and why I'm asking John to kind of feed into some of these questions to him, and as we're talking through bowling balls, is that it really makes everybody out there just to kind of think about it, because when you're going in and you're going to throw this Bigfoot, or you're going to throw a different one, or you're preparing for a tournament, you have to be open-minded to the changes that you're going to need to make to the surface prep of this bowling ball or the other ones that you're using in your arsenal based on what the lane is telling you, right? So, if John was bowling the whole World Series of Bowling at Hal, his ball, choices may have been drastically different. Plus, he probably knows every house hit in that building, and every, it's like playing on a pool table with some matchbooks in the corners to get them to bounce a little different. You got the house hit there, but
I wish I knew all those details.
That's something we got to ask Johnny or Parker, right? They know the ins and outs.
Those guys are like human computers when it comes to that stuff.
The human computers, but I mean, obviously, you come from a center and a pedigree there, John. You got your shoes, big shoes to fill there, right?
Oh, I'm swimming in them. Yeah, it's great though.
What other? I mean, we're talking about the Bigfoot, and talked about the first impressions on that, and John. And so, like for yours personally, when you drilled this one up, what did you go with? I mean, what was your approach with drilling this one?
I mean, my drilling numbers were 50 by 4.5 by 35. So I was just trying to fill a gap I had, with some other symmetric pearls, and that I wanted this one to be a little stronger than some of the others, but not super strong. I still wanted to get some decent length and not have it flare too much. So.
Right. So, I mean, when you're saying you want to be a little bit stronger, so what would be your baseline or your benchmark, maybe pin to pap on a symmetric? Are you usually more towards 5 inches, and you went to the 4.5 or 4.25 to?
No, 4.5 is more my probably closer to my normal.
Your sweet spot. Okay.
Somewhere in there. Yeah. But I mean, if I was going to do 4, even, closer to 4 would be my max probably. Anything more than that, with my ball roll the way it is right now, the ball just seems to never, get into a roll quick enough. It just kind of stays in that perpetual, spin. So it needed to roll forward a little bit.
I mean, with a 35-degree back angle, I mean, obviously your intention there, for the viewers out there, when you use a lower number on the valve, he's trying to get the ball to roll forward a little quicker. So, but, and then surface prep you used out there in that ball?
I pretty much left it out of the box. It was so good at home. I don't like to change the ball surface, unless I absolutely have to. So I left it out of the box. I used it like that for the PTQ. And then oddly enough, I put a little bit of shine on it, just the most smallest amount, because, it was just, I just wanted to really to get through that dry zone, because it got fairly dry towards the end. And I had a little bit of an issue where, I would get the ball a little too up the lane, and it would just check. And then I would get a little bit, I didn't want to open up, and get too far left. So I kind of wanted to work in that zone, and that allowed me to do that, I felt. So.
And I think, maybe this is a true, statement for you, or maybe, so from what I've been seeing in maybe the past season or so, as the rev rates increase, especially in the national tour, as the rev rates increase and the front of the lanes start to
Mine's not increasing.
Yeah, I didn't say yours, John. I said with the rev rates. You need another hand on the ball there, pal. We got to get you up another 125 there. But as the rev rates increase, obviously the front of the lanes get blown up quite a bit, and we see a lot more urethane used to try to get the bowling balls to slow down quickly and things along those lines. But from what I've seen, I'm starting to see a little bit more compound, a little bit more polish and stuff kind of starting to sneak into, maybe the national tour a little bit more than we've seen in years past. I mean,
I would agree.
I didn't think there was any pads they made other than 500 for probably a good 6 years. But now, you're starting to see it, not just on, qualifying and stuff. You're seeing it on shows and stuff. And, what do you think that? Do you really think that's the kind of the rev rate kind of bleeding through there? The front's kind of going and kind of changing, how they're trying to get the bowling balls to tip on the lane? Or is that a way that they're combating some of the urethane?
That's a good question about, especially with the urethane. I mean, if you go back and watch some of the last, you watch the World Series of Bowling, if you have Flow Bowling and you watch, some of those events, especially with like Belmonte. I was standing behind him last week, watching him bowl match play. He was throwing it in the 14s. And so, I mean, and, with a shinier ball, and just trying to get it to slow down and smoothly come off the back end of the pattern, you can't do that with, too much surface.
Right.
I was trying to slow down a little bit, and I mean, probably more so for me because I tend to be a little more speed dominant than he would be, but not that I'm comparing myself to him, but just as, I need to get a little bit slower lately. My sweet spot in speed needs to be a little bit less. But when I do that, I need to make sure the ball is going to, get through the lane, get down the lane far enough and still retain energy. So, I don't know. I mean, it could be the urethane. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it could be the patterns. It seems like the more oil they're putting on the lane, the balls are still hooking plenty. It doesn't seem like it's like, wow, oh my God, this is so much more oil than I've ever seen in my life. You know, so.
And we talk about this, and I'm not trying to say this is a negative thing because we don't spend time on here trying to do those things. But I mean, as the rev rates increase, okay, and as we continue to see more and more and more oil put on the lanes. I mean, obviously,
and down the lane too, which is we didn't mention that. But
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
oil down the lane. Too.
Oil down lane, and my pet peeve when I hear it called a speed bump, and I'm like, that don't make any sense to me. It's an accelerator. The speed bump, when I go over a speed bump in a parking lot, I slow down. I mean, some people hit it Dukes of Hazzard style, but I tend to slow down. Well, when I throw a bowling ball and I'm supposed to hit this so-called speed bump, it looks like an accelerator from RC Pro-Am to me. When I hit it, my ball goes, it wants to shoot through there. So I don't understand the terminology on that one. But, as you see more of these, obviously, it's changing the way that we have to attack the lanes. And obviously, bowling ball technology has to kind of follow what's being put out in the lane. So, bowling balls are indeed softer. All right. Or we're using bowling balls that try to read the front part of the lane because it's so erratic down lane, and especially if you don't have the rev rate to combat that. And I think it really changes the progressions. It changes the thought process to how to attack lanes from start to finish. And hence the reason why I asked you if you were seeing the same thing. You're seeing a little bit of compound, a little bit of polish, some, different philosophies and kind of how to attack things. It's always evolving. Me personally, I'd love to see them dial it back and have restrictions on how much oil can be put on the lane. So we don't have to throw big grenades and stuff down the lane. That's, like a sponge, but we have to bowl on what's put in front of us and adapt to that. And obviously, John, I think you did a pretty darn good job out the World Series because, I mean, I know you made the one cut, but you were pretty solid in every event you bowled out there. I mean, I'm assuming you were pretty pleased with the performance. And I know you had a lot of followers back home definitely watched your match against Chapman. Yeah,
I definitely that was fun. I had a lot of people wish me well and congratulate me on making it and all that. And that was wonderful. That was more than I expected. I basically put it down to 3 bad blocks and 3 good blocks. So half and half. I had a bad block on Cheetah. Then I came back and bowled 220 over. Scorpion was pretty much a disaster. And then Shark was good. So.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I missed the overall cut by about 30 pins, I think. So it was for me, not being out there all that much. It was a pretty good showing.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you have on your horizon? I talked to you in a text message earlier today, and I was actually caught me off guard. I didn't realize you weren't bowling the Masters, but
I know.
What's on the agenda for you coming up?
Got the regional season starting up. Looking forward to that. Hopefully, we'll see some more on the schedule soon.
If you go on the R2 site, you can see a lot more.
I did sign up for a couple already, and I did go down and see. So that's exciting. So we have a bunch of those. Might hit a NEBA or two, which I haven't hit in a couple of years.
Okay.
So that might be fun. Some local events. We got the state tournament. Things like that. So and then that takes us into the summer pretty much. So unfortunately, nothing on the national level for a while.
Yeah, so. I mean, if you're not doing the Masters, it's going to be a little bit on that one. They're dwindling down here. So end of the off season, it'll be time for the ladies to take their shot. Over the hot summer months when they get the bowl. But when it comes to Radical products, John, I mean, we get these questions all the time, and we'll hit some questions here in the chat or some comments that came up. But outside of the
Cool.
Bigfoot, obviously the Bigfoot is great. What are some of your other go-tos or your favorites that are in your bag from the Radical line?
Well, I used, and I know this is, this has gone away now, but Incognito Pearl is a big one for me. I use that one a lot. Double Cross was really awesome on Cheetah last week. That second block, I was lost. I think I was minus the first block, and I said I'm going straight urethane the second block, and went 220 over with that ball. That ball's nice. I have not gotten to drill the scheme yet. I wanted to do that before today, and I didn't have a chance. So, and I hear that one's pretty smooth. So I'm looking forward to being able to use that one a little bit more on like the local level, maybe in the regionals.
Mhm.
The results, I've used all the results balls with some success. The results plus was a good league ball for me, actually last summer. I used that ball a lot last summer.
Yeah,
But,
very clean cover on that one.
Very clean. For me to be able to use an ASIM on the house shot was kind of nice. Informer. I mean, I don't know which one haven't I used. Like,
Yeah, we get tons of them to play around with, and I have gotten to see. I haven't personally thrown the
Trailblazer,
scheme, and I
right?
know we'll review the scheme here coming up. I know Kerry drilled one. That release is a little different. I mean, it's not intended to be like the original, conspiracies and bigger. It's a smoother ball, a little less overall motion. It is smooth. I mean, when you crack the cover on that thing, it's even smoother. I mean, it's a very good control piece. You'll probably like it. But Ephraim had put one on here: Bigfoot versus Bigfoot versus the Trailblazer. Obviously, two different balls. And John, if you want to, I mean, obviously the Trailblazer being a hybrid, but biggest difference is their ASIM versus a SIM. Ephraim. I think the Trailblazer for myself, I had drilled one of those, and again, that was a very smooth hybrid piece. Kind of, if I compared it to maybe some of the other Brunswick balls, if I compared it to something like a Zenith hybrid, Trailblazer was definitely a good, 2-3 foot longer, and just maybe, the motion might have been a hair quicker, but it was a little less overall motion. When you compare it to a Bigfoot, which you've thrown, John, I haven't thrown both. SIM versus an ASIM, what would you give Ephraim as a kind of a thought process on that one?
Right. I mean, the layouts are completely different, so they're not even close for me. My Trailblazer, I had pinned down, but I even still, the Bigfoot is not as quick, I feel like, as the Trailblazer is. I use the Trailblazer almost as a control kind of piece, also. Back at the Players, I remember using it, just kind of keeping it in front of me on the longer pattern.
Yep.
And go figure. So maybe I like those. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit quicker. I drilled a bunch for people, different ones pin up. And so I would say, a little faster motion, maybe a little bit sooner than the Bigfoot would be.
And I think guy from your center, not Vinny here, we'll talk about it. I know Vinny's from your center, but there's another guy at your center, I believe, liked that Trailblazer quite a bit. Kind of a popular lefty, a little older than Parker. May have had a couple big sets with it.
Yeah, he's always kind of walking around here with a bottle, a
Yeah.
glass of wine.
Yeah, is he there right now? He's probably
no, he's home. He's picking out balls for us to drill for the senior tour.
Nice.
So,
but I did flash it up here, Vinny. Obviously one of your customers, I believe, is a mechanic.
What's up, Vinny?
You. And Vinny's had some pretty awesome success for the 3D offset. So you drilled him there, John. I know he's had 800, 300 with that thing. So
first week,
770, something like that. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But I'll let you answer it, John. How would a Bigfoot fit Vinny's game if you were to suggest a ball for him?
Actually, I think the Bigfoot for Vinny would be pretty good, just because it'll keep him a little further. Vinny's a unique bowler. I don't know if you've ever seen Vinny bowl, Jeff, but he bowls. He's right-handed, but he throws a pretty wicked backup ball.
Wicked backup ball. Yep.
Yeah.
He actually sent me. Vinny sent me an article via Facebook and got to see some shots and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, for him, I think it'll come off the spot, quick enough where it'll throw the pins around, with no problem for him. I mean, sometimes I feel like some of the balls, with some of the layouts he likes might be a little bit too smooth. I think this one would be a good complement to some of those other ones.
Right.
So.
Oh, what we got here, Jonathan? Where would the original Zing fit now in the line? The original Zing. So you're talking about the Zing Solid,
the pinky one,
the pink and blue guy. I probably have one laying on the floor over here somewhere. That ball is very good, but the ball was very, very big. So quite a difference in bowling balls comparing a Bigfoot to a Zing. I mean, Zing right now is probably what, 2 releases ago. So what's the biggest ball in your line right now? I guess still the Max Results.
Yeah, Max Results and the Informer's a step down, but yeah, Max
Informer's a step down. So,
but that ball doesn't have any of the the mica flakes or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, like the mica flakes are in the Maximum Results. They're in the Informer, right?
Yep.
Informer's got some, but it did not have it in the Zing. I think the Zing, when you're comparing those and not having the mica flakes, the Zing would have fell into the fact where it was going to be a little cleaner than like a Max Results. Obviously, a Max Results going to roll forward pretty early with that big intermediate diff on it. Whereas the Zing wasn't nearly as early, had really good continuation. I'm not sure what's on the horizon next to kind of fit around the scheme and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you'll probably see another ASIM of some type coming out from the Radical brands here over the next couple months for sure.
Hope so.
That's my guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Mr. Emmerich, what do we get here? How would this compare to a Web Pearl? Well, Dave is actually one of my clients here. Web Pearl he has is the newer one, the jade green one. So Web Pearl versus this, I'm going to say again, I have not thrown the Bigfoot personally, but with the Bigfoot having a little bit of the flakes in it, I have to imagine the Bigfoot's going to be a little earlier than a Web Pearl. I mean, that Web Pearl is a very, very clean piece, a lot of pearlescent in it, and is very quick off friction. But when we were talking a little bit about it earlier, characteristics wise, and what they bowled in out at the World Series. Now, John's rev rate isn't quite as high as Chapman's, but Chapman throws it hard. He's not going to be nice to it on the bottom, right? He gets a mitt full of it. It's going to be firm. It's going to be everything he's got for each shot. But you could even see it, like when I saw him throw that versus John throwing the Bigfoot, the Web Pearl angles were a little steeper through the front part of the lane. I think it stands up when it sees friction, stands up a little quicker. Where the Bigfoot's going to be a little more rounded. Still quick, but when you're comparing the two. So for you, Dave, that would essentially probably be not quite as much length as you're getting out of a Web Pearl. Probably see the footprint be a little wider. So the bowling ball is going to go through the pins a little differently. Pretty good compliment though. We got one coming through. John, how you doing on time? You all right? I talk forever sometimes.
What time is it? Oh yeah, we're good.
We had 30. We've been talking 30 minutes already because that's just what happens when we talk about bowling. It happens all the time. But I have a 2019 Squatch. What will I notice different from the Bigfoot? You want this one, John?
I got this one. So, I mean, similar to what we've been saying, I think maybe just a little bit sooner motion. And I think a little bit more overall hook. But again, surface prep depends a lot on that. You can do whatever you want to the prep of the ball. But I think it'll start up just a little bit sooner because of that cover. And I think the core is I don't remember the core 100% in the Squatch, but this is a really low RG core. I mean, this is,
It's 2486 or
2468. Right.
2468.
I know the Squatch was low too, but I mean, this is pretty low. So, I mean, it's just when I used it the first time, it was on the really burnt house shot, and it got enough to the right, and it retained the energy. So the energy retention was there. I just think it would start a little bit sooner though than the Squatch.
Yeah, I think so too. What else we got out there, gang? We got time for a couple more questions here before we kind of go sign out. I want to kind of scroll back through here, John, see if we missed any big ones. We try to get to all of them that we can in a time frame here. Sure. You bowling anything this weekend, John?
I have a local tournament here in Monmouth County. That five-man team tournament.
Five-man team. It's not the Masters thing that you've won like 14 times.
No, that we put that streak to bed this year, so got to start over. No, this is like almost like each house, puts together a team, and it's like house versus house, kind of a pride kind of thing. So it's called the Bar Trophy.
And just shouting out there, Beans, we have not been ignoring you. I promise. I've been reading your messages, and actually, because he made a comment about Belmo not just being, he's not just winning because of his rev rate and being able to overpower lanes. And he's absolutely correct. I mean, Belmo right now, I don't care how you look at it, Belmo's the best bowler in the world right now. I mean, his accuracy, his touch,
he's in control. He doesn't seem to be out of control ever.
And, one thing that I'm going to give him, and John and I will say the same things. Look, I represent Hammer Johns with Radical. Bowling is bowling, though. We love bowling. Okay. We're both pro shop guys. We support our brands, but when you see excellence, it's on the lane. One of the things I said just the other day when we were talking about, how people win and how they conduct themselves on TV and stuff. If you watch Belmo go through his motions, okay, he's in the moment. He's committed to what he's going to do, whether it's right or wrong. He's going to make a good shot. He shows very little emotion until it's time, right? I mean, he's just in control of himself, and that's what makes him so incredibly hard to beat, because he can manage the highs of highs and he can manage the lows of lows. And until somebody steps up and dethrones that, it's going to be hard to beat, But we miss seeing you, Beans. We haven't. You need to get back into bowling. I'm sure he'll text me in a little bit here and tell me why he can't bowl. I'm just going to make fun of him, and then we'll call each other a few names and we'll go from there. But great having you stop in here. What did Mark throw up here? This is probably still in the woods looking for Bigfoot. Yes, you and everybody else. We like to call him Harry. But would the 3D be a better ball for me to use at Nationals versus a Bigfoot? Well, is that a loaded question, right now, of what is going to be looking good at Nationals? Because right now it appears to be urethane. So quite a bit of urethane balls have been kind of doing some work there. For me, I haven't bowled Nationals in a few years. John, I know you have. I don't know if you have in the past too because of the pandemic, but prior.
Yeah, I don't think I bowled since 2018.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, kind of to answer that, I mean, how I always went into Nationals and kind of my thought process was to always go in there with a variety of shapes. I mean, obviously you're not going to travel there with, 9, 10, 12 balls. Most people go with 6, and one of them's their spare ball. You want to have a little bit of variety because there's so many anomalies that can happen, when you're at Nationals, depending on who you're bowling with, where you're crossing, how the lanes were broke down, what pair you're on. I mean, again, I don't think there's a magic ball. You definitely want to make sure that you have what you can call like a control piece that you can kind of figure the lane out front to back and kind of make your moves based on that. A 3D versus a Bigfoot. The only thing I would say, maybe give it a lean towards the 3D for you, Mark, is you're a little bit speed dominant to your game. And I think you could easily throw the Bigfoot kind of through the break point, even though the 3D offset is a pearl in its own right. It only has a little bit of pearl additive to it. So it acts a lot more like to me, it acts more like a hybrid or almost like a Tor cover in a solid reactive. Doesn't really act like a pearl to me. I mean, obviously, if you've seen how much I throw it in league, it would show you right off the bat. It don't act like a pearl because pearls make buckets in league for me. I mean, it just doesn't work. It's going to be solid with short pins to the right. So if you were going to go for one of those, Mark, I would probably say for you it would be the 3D. Is Vinny working tonight? Because he's commenting on here like crazy. Is he down back?
I haven't seen him today, so I think he's home. Or maybe he's bowling league. I don't know. Purple
Hammer was banned. An email. Yep, those the 2016 and 17 hammers were pulled off the market for softness. That's nothing that's hidden. The cool thing about it is, even though it's not really a Brunswick issue, I mean, these were made way before they acquired them. They're doing the right thing, and they're still gonna let you get a replacement ball for them. So you can actually, if you don't know how to use the portal, John can help you out with that. The pro shop guys can help us. John, if you don't have the portal, I have it. So we can get set up and for what would fit your game, but that'd be something you could work directly with John on for a good replacement ball for that, Vinny.
Yeah, we can work on that, bud.
So, all right, Terry, Terry Mize, congratulations. I was there to see it, but congratulations. Terry just won this past weekend.
Congratulations.
He might have been using a purple hammer, and it was not a 6 or 7. So we'll just throw that out there. It was a 2021 model. I know because we didn't drill it that long ago. When deciding on ball selection for tournament, John, maybe we'll let you take this. Do you go off length of pattern or mills or combo? How far in advance do you think of lane breakdown in the bottom of your arsenal?
Well, I definitely think about it before I leave the shop because that's where all my equipment is.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say, so I look at the pattern and, I kind of just go back in my memory bank as far as what shapes look best on what lengths, and what I'm probably going to be needing the ball to do. So might need to lose energy faster, retain energy longer, and then, volume. Yeah. I mean, you're going to pick, if it's a heavier volume, you're going to pick some duller ASIMs or, more aggressive ASIMs, but I'm probably not going to mess with the surface too much until I get there to the tournament site.
Yeah. And I think that's, we kind of drill that in a lot, I'm going to tell you flat out that I really don't like touching the surface of a bowling ball until I throw it down the lane. I don't care what that sheet says because the button could have been hit wrong. The wrong pattern was put in the machine. God knows we've been to tournaments where that's happened.
Oh yeah.
And it's good to have a variety. And the last question I think Terry had there, maybe I'm interpreting this a little different. How far in advance the lane breakdown to the bottom of your arsenal? And I don't know if you mean surface prep, Terry, like, the day of. I think if that's what you're getting at, I think, we really do our best to kind of think ahead. So if we're hitting, say, bowling balls we're starting the block on, we need to be looking into our bags and understanding what our next ball choice is and making sure we're not going to go from a ball we hit with 500 or 1,000 in the beginning. And now I go into my bag of what my next ball should be, and it's sitting at 4,000. I don't have anything in between. Right. In that instance, yes, I think John would say the same thing. He's thinking in his head what he's going to be going to, and he may be hitting a few other balls in the bag for the block that he may not even touched in practice, right? So he knows what his progressions are going to be to give him the best chance of making a ball choice progression to continue to be able to maybe, stay in his zones or be more gradual in his zones till he has to jump over into the other side of the rainbow and throw, something with a little bit of
the rainbow
texture and stuff like that, or throw a Bigfoot, right? So you get to know Bigfoot.
Can't wait to throw a Bigfoot anymore.
Yeah, it should happen that way, but yeah, okay. Vinny's at Lakewood, so he's not there working, so he's not on the clock right now, so we're good to go.
All right, I'll see him tomorrow, I think so.
But anyway, John, we're at the 42-minute mark, and again, we could talk forever, but I think we answered quite a bit of questions when it came down to kind of the Bigfoot, and I'm glad we got some time to actually have you on the program again. I really enjoy talking bowling with you, and obviously we get to see each other a little more, be a little nicer, but yeah, we're not going to get you up the Valley. Are you going to be at Valley?
When is that?
April 9th, 10th. Friday, Saturday. I'm going.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
That was going to be the regional, the NEBA I was looking at, maybe.
Okay. I got you. But yeah, we appreciate you, coming on the program, and it was awesome being able to follow along your World Series, and obviously keep working hard. I truly don't say this because we're close friends, but I think for everybody that's watching the audience here, John will win a national title at some time. Got close up in Bopo a few years back, and the run couldn't have asked yourself really to bowl much better, and a couple of breaks your way, and a couple of the 10 pins may have fell that first game, and the World Series might have been a little different, but
those didn't pop up. Those popped up out of nowhere. It's like, why am I leaving so many? Oh wait, because my pro shop name. That's right.
Yes, it happens there, but we enjoy following along, and even though this program is through Pure Bowling, I mean, if you guys are in Howell, New Jersey area, surrounding areas, and you need help with your game, obviously you want to look John up at Fury's Solid 10 Pro Shop. He's inside Howell, the home of John Furey, and then there's a couple other guys that are okay there, like Parker and Johnny P. They all come after John, though.
It's include Matt Russo in there, even though he's
Russo. All those guys come after John Fury. So we're gonna. John Fury's the pro shop guy there. That's all that matters. But if you need,
I'm the cook in the kitchen here.
And you're in the New Jersey area, obviously it's a good place to stop by and work with a professional to help you with your game. And if you're in my area, you're definitely come see me. But anyway, John, thanks for hopping on the program. If you have any questions for John and I that maybe you didn't ask, feel free to reach out to us. We do our best to get back to everybody as we can. And, let's continue to go out there, support bowling. By all means, support us in our shops and buy the brands of Brunswick. John, any closing remarks for you?
I mean, I just want to thank you for having me on. Thank you for waiting a week. I was sleeping last week almost at this time, so I was beat. So I appreciate it. I had a good time, and if I could be of any help in any way, let me know.
All right, sounds good, John. We'll chat soon, and for everybody
All
else
right.
out there, just stay tuned. We'll have another guest on next week, and haven't decided on the bowling ball yet, but maybe we'll talk. Maybe we're thinking maybe about the speed or something like that. Something else that's coming out on Friday. So until then,
Good choice.
stay tuned, and we'll see everybody later. Take care
All right,
now.
stay radical.
Hammer.
You good?
And hello. Still live because I can't shut it off.